What's going on, YouTube? This is Just My Opinion, and today I will be reviewing the Weeknd's Trilogy series. Now, don't worry, I will be reviewing Starboy very, very soon. I just need a little bit more time to sit with the project and analyze it, but don't worry, it will be coming soon. Now, the Weeknd is a alternative R&B singer and songwriter from Canada who exploded last year with the success of his album Beauty Behind the Madness. But as for me, along with other core Weeknd fans, we have been following him since around 2011 with the success of his 3 mixtapes that year, House of Balloons, Thursday, and Echoes of Silence, which he remastered and repackaged back in 2012 under the name Trilogy. He also picked up a lot of steam in 2011 after being co-signed by Drake, and he even was featured and wrote and gave several of his tracks to by far my favorite and the best album I've heard from Drake so far, Take Care. Now, I will be splitting this review up into 2 separate parts, as I wanted to review House of Balloons in its entirety by itself, as that was my favorite by far out of the mixtape trilogy. But we'll be reviewing Thursday and Echoes of Silence for this review. Now, The Weeknd, when he first came out as an R&B singer, he came out as kind of experimenting with the sounds of R&B, giving it a real alternative feel. He was very moody, very dark, very depressing, and he depicted himself as this self-destructive character who does a lot of drugs and has a lot of sex. Now, as far as the Thursday mixtape, it picks up both sonically and as far as thematically that House of Balloons left off on, starting with the track Lonely Star, which is probably my least favorite out of the 3 songs that he started all of his mixtapes with, but still a very good song nonetheless. The story starts out with this girl who has basically driven her friends away, and The Weeknd is kind of luring her in, saying that he could basically give her everything that she wants and desires. Now, the next song on the album is Life of the Party, which has a very nice groove to it along with the verses, but then as soon as the chorus drops in, we get these very heavy guitar riffs with some rattling hi-hats, and it gets very, very intense. This song, of course, is all about a sexual experience that he's having with this girl at a party, which is something that is not new to Weeknd fans. This is something that he has done very, very well and made his entire career off of. Now, the next song we get is the title track, Thursday, which is one of my standout tracks on this mixtape. It is very melodic sounding. It kind of has this very trancey vibe to it with its eerie guitars and its muddy bass. The Weeknd sounds absolutely fantastic as far as his vocal performance all throughout this track. And this song is all about how he basically only cares about this girl on a specific day of the week, and this day being, of course, Thursday. From here, we get the song The Zone, which is by far my favorite song on this specific mixtape and one of my favorite Weeknd songs ever. It features Drake on it, and he fits in like a glove on this song. Now, this song, I love the production on it, the nice chilly pianos. It has a very melodic feel to it, and The Weeknd is singing his ass off on this entire track, really showcasing his vocal range. This song is all about The Weeknd being on lean and possibly having sex with a stripper or a prostitute, I'm assuming, all while he's thinking of this other girl in his head. Now, the next 2 songs in the mixtape, I love the way how they both come together. It's the Birds Part 1 and the Birds Part 2. For the Birds Part 1, it is one of the most upbeat songs on the entire mixtape, and I love the snares on it, and I also think The Weeknd gives another great vocal performance on this. Now, for this version of the Birds, it's more upbeat, basically trying to tell this girl and warning this girl that I may seem like a good time, but you don't want to fall in love with somebody like me. So you're basically taking a chance on me. And for the Birds Part 2, it continues right where the Birds 1 left off, but a much more somber sounding and slower sounding song. And it sounds even more somber with the vocal effects of the girl crying in the background, basically sounding like she did not listen to The Weeknd and she is falling out of love with him because she is realizing the type of person that he is. Now, the next song we get is Gone, which is another very melodic and trancy sounding type song, similar to that of Thursday. I did enjoy the song. However, I do feel that it kind of dragged a little bit long. It was about 8 minutes long, and that's one of the problems with some of The Weeknd's earlier works, is that he does have the tendency to make these very, very long songs. Now, the next song we get is Rolling Stone, which is another standout track of mine on this mixtape. He's singing over probably the simplest production on the entire mixtape. It's basically just a looping guitar riff, but he is singing his ass off again, showcasing his singing and vocal range very, very well. This song is all about how he's basically just moving on from one girl to the next until he is either no longer recognized or famous and relevant anymore. And the last song on the standard edition of Thursday ends with the song Heaven or Las Vegas, which is a good track. It has very lavish production on it. It's very heavy hitting. I love the vocoder effects that he uses on his voice. I do, however, think that he probably would have been better off finishing the album with the song Rolling Stone. But again, still a good track and a decent way to end the album off. Now, as far as the bonus track for the Trilogy edition for Thursday, it was Valerie, which was an okay song. Didn't really blow me away, but I think it did fit in well with the overall sound and theme of the original mixtape. So overall, I rate the Thursday mixtape a 7.5 out of 10. I thought that it was a pretty solid project. It did sound kind of samey at times, but it was a good continuation of House of Balloons, and it had an excellent story throughout the entire project. Now, on the third mixtape in the series, Echoes of Silence, you could definitely tell that he kind of started, although theme-wise he wasn't really breaking away, he kind of was trying to break away as far as the sound goes of this mixtape, and it starts with the song DD, which is actually a cover of Michael Jackson's Dirty Diana, and this is my favorite song on this mixtape. And The Weeknd sounds almost eerily similar to Michael Jackson. It almost sounds like we're listening to a remix of the song as opposed to a cover, but just with, of course, the mixtape's darker, moodier sound and production throughout the entire song. Now, the next track we get is Montreal, which is another standout track for me on this album. I love The Weeknd's vocal performance on this again. It kind of has a more pop sound to it than it does his standard alternative heavy R&B sound. I love how within the song he was using a French chorus. He was speaking French on it, as of course Canada, a lot of people in Canada speak French. And you could definitely tell with this song that his songwriting ability has kind of evolved and gotten a little bit more mature, as this song is basically about a relationship that is on the rocks. Now from here we get the song Outside, which has more of a contemporary R&B sound to it as opposed to some of his other tracks. This song basically is all about him having sex with some chicks. This song, though, is very sexy and moody, and I do warn you that if you are listening to this song with a girl, you probably will get her pregnant. I'm warning you right now. Now, from here, we get the song EXO, The Host, which is, of course, another party song by The Weeknd, depicting a party setting in which there are a lot of drugs and a lot of sex going on. And of course, again, this is nothing new as far as his subject matter goes, but in this song we actually kind of get, for the first time throughout this entire mixtape series, it seems like there are some ramifications now finally of what's going on and how it's affecting both the Weeknd's life and this woman's life that he is involved with. Now this song leads right into the song Initiation, which is basically all about how this girl that he has been seeing and talking to, she's going through now the initiation process of gaining the Weeknd's acceptance and feeling like she is worthy of him and living his lifestyle. I didn't really care for this song too much though, mostly for the fact that what he was doing with his vocals on this song. He kept pitch shifting his vocals back and forth between this really low pitch and then really high pitch, and I didn't think it was all that necessary. The next song we get is Same Old Song, which is again another nice, slow, contemporary R&B sounding song, all about how this girl that The Weeknd has been seeing is basically no different than any of these other girls that have kind of overlooked him in the past and now are interested in him because he's famous. Again, another very good song, but I will say though that I was very disappointed with the Juicy J feature. He basically comes in for the last 30 seconds just kind of rambling, talking about how The Weeknd gets all these bitches wet. Sorry, Juicy, but I'm pretty sure that you probably made all these women dry from your little vocal snippet. We didn't need you telling us that The Weeknd gets all these bitches wet. We already know that that's what he does. From here we get the song The Fall, which does have some very interesting production on it, but again, this is another very long song that is just very rambly and very repetitive. This is nothing new as far as the theme wise or anything like that. We then get the song Next, which is another standout track of mine on this mixtape. I love this song. I love the very moody pianos throughout it and the kind of reverb vocals in the background of this song as well. And The Weeknd gives another amazing vocal performance. This song is basically about how all these women want him now because he is famous. And the standard version ends with the title track, Echoes of Silence, which was one of the softest moments on the entire Trilogy series. Basically all about how The Weeknd is leaving this girl after a one-night stand, but she doesn't want him to. It was also one of his softest vocal performances on the entire project, and I also love the orchestra sounds that are used throughout this entire track. Now, the last bonus track in this Trilogy series is titled Till Dawn, and in all honesty, I think this is probably the least interesting out of all of the bonus tracks that were featured on this Trilogy series. So overall, I rate Echoes of Silence a 5.5 out of 10. I do think that this was a decent mixtape, and you could definitely tell that he was trying to experiment and evolve within the sound and style in which he got famous off of, and was trying to mature a little bit as well as far as songwriting goes. But overall, I thought this was the least memorable out of the three mixtapes, and after a while, some of the subject matter and the way that the songs were laid out got kind of repetitive, and I guess I was expecting something a little bit newer. This was my opinion of Thursday and Echoes of Silence, and thank you for watching.